We are at a place in my country that is, I would say, a crossroads, where things are quite dire. And in 50 years' time, I think we'll be looking back at this specific time. And I had this vision that my daughter would say to me when she was maybe your age, "Where were you, Mom? Why didn't you confront an administration that clearly was not for the emancipation of all people, not just heterosexual white men? Why didn't you confront this, Mom?" And when I had this vision, it was after the last election in my country, when I was sure that we would make a change. And when we didn't, as a mass, make this change, the place that I had evolved to as a mother and a career musician shifted, and the tomahawk that I had put down metaphorically screamed my name and took its place back at my hip, which my great-great-grandmother had when she was able to escape the Trail of Tears in 1848. So therefore, American Doll Posse is really about claiming the divine feminine to remember this dismembered ideology. I thought that more people would be aware of it. My 15-year-old niece knew about it, and because she knew about it, amongst her In Touch magazine and her Gossip Girls book, I thought that, well, let's start good. She wasn't ready for Norse or Celtic or Egyptian or Hindu. So she knew who Aphrodite was, and I thought, well, let's start there. It's really that simple. She was the one that called me a milf. It all starts with the 15-year-old. Who was 14 at the time. Her name is Kelsey. And she's at that age where she wants to understand what's going on. But I think that she's more consumed with pop culture. And so I had to make a decision, and it was seductive and it's vicious, but it's absolutely fair. And that was, two can play at this game. So if Kelsey doesn't want to hear about Adina from the book, she might want to hear about it from Pip, who's in Rubber. And she happens to love Pip, who's in Rubber, and wants her own rubber tights. So that was a calculated move. Shoot me. You can translate that. How do you say rubber in Romanian?
Caoutchouc. We decided that it's better because they all understand.
Oh, they understand. Okay.
It's better.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt.
Oh, okay. How's Neil? Neil's fine. He's been in Hungary. As an American woman, I have to claim who I am. And it seemed to me that right now there are a lot of girl bands, and not all of them have been given the intellectual respect that maybe they deserve. So I thought that it was time that we had one, number one. And number two, It did seem to me that, as I said before, there was so much distraction amongst the women during the last election in our country. I don't know how it works in your country, but if you have the women's vote, that's a very important vote. Well, it was scattered, and it was diluted. And in retrospect, no one could figure out where were the women. If there is an administration that is clearly not supportive of women, then how could you, whatever party you support, how could you support this? And that was the question that kept grating on my mind. So I started to become a double agent, and I started to stalk the women without them knowing me in Starbucks. I would sit there watching them, and everywhere, and try and understand what happened to us. And I started to understand what happened. And that was, we were so concerned with each other and competitive and distracted. Also, we had stepped into these stereotypes, which comes back to your question. It's why I chose the Greek. These stereotypes have really been created by the Christian right wing. The Christian right wing is the most powerful organization in the United States. Don't kid yourself. Whoever's president, you have to deal with them. Therefore, I started to think to myself, like a good minister's daughter would, how do you combat this force? And the only answer that came back was with ideology. I'm sure you know their ideology. It's an authoritative, male, heterosexual, white God. So I thought, what do they abhor? The women gods. Well, let's bring on many, many, many. And that was the seed, how to confront and combat the true, who I would say, the real culprit to what was going on that was dividing the women. Until I get to the venue. It's okay. Until I get to the venue, it's hard to know exactly the space that I'm playing in. And you have to be able to fill your space. Sometimes you could pick a character that could really be discordant with the space. So you have to know what's going to work and harmonize with that space. And also you have to get a sense of the people coming to the show. You can't compare it to the people that were in Montreux. That's a completely different group of people. So you have to really be focused on who's attending.
Thank you.